Hello, my friends, and welcome to Adobe Live. I'm your host, Kieran Lewis, a freelance graphic designer based in London. And today, on today's stream, we have Adobe Spark Ambassador and the very talented designer, Shyne Webster. Shyne, how are you doing today?
Hello, hi. I'm super excited. It's morning for me, so I'm excited to start my day off with a nice
Nice.
live. How are you?
I'm good. The time difference, I know that's a thing, right? You're starting your day, I'm ending my day, but it's all good. We're all here, and it's good vibes, man. I'm looking forward to it. And anyone in the chat, where are you guys streaming from? Let us know where you guys are. Yeah, you guys are based. Shine, you're in California, right? Am I right in saying?
Yep,
Yeah.
near
And
LA.
there we go. And I'm in London, so let us know where you're streaming from. And if you're tuning in via YouTube or Behance, again, massive welcome. Definitely get some comments in the chat. Share some love to Shine while she's designing, and I'll share that directly with her. And occasionally, don't feel nervous to show an emoji every now and again. We love an emoji that we live. Before we get into the real flux of it, there's no creative challenges this week, but don't worry, my friends, we've got you. Instead, we're launching our creative bootcamp this week, so you can join Andrew Hortriddle for a creative cloud app for beginners bootcamp. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. But today is all about Shyne and her awesome design process. So Shyne, would you like to tell our audience a bit about yourself and what you're working on for today?
Yes, well, apart from the glowing introduction, like Kieran mentioned, I'm a graphic designer, so I run my own studio here. We're based remotely all over the world, maybe someone near you. We're a team of just Gen Z women. We work with a lot of small businesses and startups, just really helping people build irreplaceable brands and create really dope stuff. So very excited to be here and just showing you some stuff today, designing with you. Apart from that, I'm an Adobe Express ambassador. So you might have seen me on a couple lives before. You might have seen me at Adobe Max last year. And maybe you'll see me there this year. I don't know. But yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
I love that. This is definitely your first rodeo, which I love. You're part of the Adobe Live family already, which we love. And we can see the comments coming in nice, thick and fast. So hello to Steve, hi to Ferry, Crystal, we've got Sam moderator, Robert, Mona, and Natalie. So everyone's showing some love already in the chat for you, Shine. So yeah, I mean, should we perhaps maybe look at your website? Do you have like a website you can show us about yourself, and then maybe we can go into the full fledged of what we're working on?
Yeah, let's do it. Let me pull up my website, show you a little bit about myself, and give you a tour of my little corner of the internet.
Yeah, I love that.
Shameless plug.
Do
Why
it, do
stop
it.
at a good business? Become an irreplaceable brand. She's intense, right? She's dramatic, but we're here for it.
But she's got a lovely color palette behind her as well, which makes it even more softer and engaging, right? So I'm
Yes,
down
look
for
how
that.
fun. Thank you. Look at these little stickers and icons. I mean, come on,
That looks fun. That looks
we
fun. You have
definitely
my money
keep it
already.
vibrant. Thank you.
I
Yeah.
love that. And you mentioned it's a studio, so is yourself and is it two other people you're working with as well, or?
Yeah, so I have a
Yeah.
couple different people on my team. I have two
Okay.
designers working with me, creative assistant, project manager, marketing interns, the whole nine yards now, but it's very fun.
I love that. Awesome. So what we'll do is obviously we'll go into the real crux of what we're working on today, and then what we'll do is anyone who's got any comments for Shine while she's designing, any questions about her background, about her website, why she chose that color gradient. I don't know. Anything goes today. So let us know in the chat what you're thinking, and I'll definitely share that with Shine. So should we jump into perhaps the first program that you're working on for today?
Let's do it. We're going to jump right into Photoshop. Today I'm going to be designing some different event graphics. I'm hosting some events in the upcoming weeks, so just going to be creating some stuff to promote those and get the community going.
Nice. I've noticed like a lot of your obviously did a bit of background check, which everyone does, social media. Like a lot of your work is involved in the community, right? And quite community led, which is quite cool.
Yeah, it's super fun. I mean, first of all, I'm just like a huge social person. Like I'm very much an extrovert, social butterfly. So part of it is really just to like fulfill my own my own desires of like just being around people and socializing all the time. But yeah, I mean, I think my business is like super community based, and our studio is very much just a community vibe. It feels a lot more like people who just share a passion coming together, as opposed to like, I don't know, a typical agency model, I guess. So yeah,
Nice.
very community based. And I also have a digital community that I run online. So it's just all people all the time, very people centered.
Yeah, and it's cool because you mentioned the background is the Gen Z, right? So I had to do a bit of research for what age limits that was again, because I'm in the millennial category, slightly older,
Okay.
but there's different sections. But I guess for Gen Z, it's perhaps more just skip out the emails and just have a chat in person. Maybe I don't know if it's more what's the vibe for Gen Z? Educate us.
Yeah.
What Gen
I mean,
Z's
I
be?
think it's so much more like personal, a lot less professional, a lot less polished. So there's a lot of
Mm,
like, more Discord chats, and we'll have very just casual like phone calls, audio things, texting. Like it's not super formal, and email is a little bit
nice.
more of like, ugh, we
Yeah.
save that for work and the work week only. So
Yeah.
definitely a
I love
different
that.
change of pace.
Nice. And what we're working on today is that kind of targeted for that audience, or what's the vibe?
Yeah, definitely Gen Z vibes. So we are actually having an in-person coffee meetup in a couple weeks in Los Angeles. So it's going to be
Mm.
like a bunch of just Gen Z creatives, entrepreneurs, aspiring professionals, college students, whatever, just kind of coming together to get to know each other. So this is very much the vibe. So
Nice.
hopefully whatever we create today is very targeting Gen Z.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in LA, it sounds like, can anyone kind of join with what that is, or yeah?
Yeah, it's open to the public. So if
Yeah.
you're in the
If you're in
area,
LA, go. I mean, I would, but London's a little bit far away. But if it wasn't, I'd get there because it sounds like a good vibe. It sounds like
the
a good.
traffic, man.
Yeah, blame the train delays.
Yeah.
And it's cool. We can see a lot of people from different corners of the world. We got people from Robert from Sweden, Freya from
Whoa.
Indonesia, Steve from New Zealand. Lovely to see you guys. Thank you so much for joining and where you're tuning in from. So I'm excited to sort of see where you're working. I can see you're working for different, lots of different types at the moment now, right?
Yep. I'm just going with the flow, to be totally honest with you. I have like whenever I'm creating stuff for my own brand, because like I mentioned
Mm.
earlier, this is for an event that I'm hosting, right? So like whenever I'm creating for my own brand, it's just super fun and artistic and expressive. Like I don't put a ton of,
Nice.
design principles and rules around it per se. It's just a lot more like expressive, which is
You
super
can have
fun for
fun.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
get
have no
that.
idea what this is gonna look like. I know what information needs to go on the page, and that's all that I know.
You know what? That is very much like the Adobe Life philosophy, where we have maybe ideas of what we want the project to be at the end, but because we've got the chat interacting, we're discussing, ideas come right whilst you're talking. So if it looks like, if you go from A to Z but via M and whatever other letters, then it's not a big deal. It's all fun. I don't know why I used an alphabet analogy there. That was really bad, but it's the idea of having fun. Basically, it's not a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah. It's I can see what's your favorite font, by the way? I can see you're working different styles. Have you got like a favorite font?
That's such a hard question. I think it
Yeah.
just depends. I'm not even gonna lie. I am so susceptible to design trends. So like right now we're very much in that, 80s Apple ads
Yeah.
aesthetic of like the retro like Garamond, which is iconic.
Mm.
Um I don't know. This font, Nautica, this cursive, the script, it has me in
Mm.
a chokehold. I'm not gonna lie. It's such a good font. I can't stop using it. It's a
Where
good
did you
one.
is that like a system font, or was that from like an Adobe fonts, or where did you get those fonts from?
It is an Adobe font, so it's through the cloud, and I just have it activated on my devices, and then I also have it in Adobe
Nice.
Express. So I've got it with me anywhere I go.
Nice.
Very solid. It's a great
That's
font.
and that's a nice time to actually mention. If you're very much new to Adobe Live, or even to just the design process of what you're saying now, these kind of programs that Adobe brings out, it really allows you to have fun with it, be creative, learn as you go along. And there's so much things you can do, like the Adobe Live fonts and things like that you can download and use. So definitely checking those out and have a download, have some fun with it.
Yes. I am not even gonna lie. I don't even follow any like professional techniques, you guys. I'm just vibing. So
Are
if
you
anybody
winging it?
knows a
You're
better
winging
way
it,
to do this, I'm so
vibing it.
winging it. I really
It's all
am.
good. Do you know
It's
what's
just so
funny?
much
Like
fun.
with these lives, there's so many, because you got different creators, right? Different levels and all corners of the world, and we all got our own kind of like ways of working, which is like, that's the beauty of it. It's just whatever feels comfortable for you. And this is nice to work, and it's fun as well. You chose like a nice color palette. I'm digging that opacity lowered behind as well, which looks nice.
Thank you. Thank you. You're peeping the
That's good.
details.
Of course.
Yeah, that's one thing I do love about design is like there are so many different ways to get to the same kind of end result, and like everybody has a different technique, and there's not really one
Mm.
right or wrong way, which is super fun and very, very encouraging for me who's just coloring outside of the lines right now.
I love that. Do you find it's interesting? This is obviously like a passion project. This is a community based. You have complete ownership, right, and freedom. When you have your client work, do you find you're able to try and use some of that freedom with it? Because obviously you have brand guidelines. They have clients know what they want. There's obviously a bit of a difference right between those two. How do you kind of find that balance? Big question, I know.
No, that is a big question. That's a great question, though. I mean, I think, first of all, like, I always try to be really upfront with my clients and letting them know that I am, I really do have a penchant for things that are different and I like to, experiment creatively. And so they're usually like very trusting, which is great. That's a testament to them. Like, they very much will allow me my creative freedom for the most part. But I mean, I think there are a lot of ways to like get creative within brand guidelines and maintaining the same sort of feel, but maybe like changing the shade of the color a little or changing the font just a tiny bit. Like, I think a lot of times people don't know, their audience doesn't really know if you're using the wrong hex code or whatever. So I think as long as you maintain the brand feel and like the vibe that they're going for overall, that's kind of how I get away with it. But
I love that. You made a key point, like you used the word trust as well, because that is something that I feel like you could work with so many brands and different sizes and scales, but trust is like that key component, right? Whether it's a long project or a long client you've had for years or done just starting out, because there's always that sense of you, the designer, want to kind of put your stamp on what you're creating, right? But then it's like that sort of blurred line of how much is too, do you know what I mean? Like you're almost moonwalking across that fine line of what you can really do.
It's very much a balance for sure.
That's interesting. It'd be great to know anyone in the chat. I mean, if you're freelance, if you're full time, have you got any experiences of like how you deal with clients, or do you even work on like free, community based projects or passion projects? We would love to hear about it. We can see we've got Crystal in the chat who said, "I'd love to be able to just create. For me, it's so refreshing." That's nice to hear. It's those good energy vibes. That's what we like to see.
Yes. I think you've definitely got to have some passion projects for yourself in there somewhere. It's so easy for the lines to get blurred as a professional creative too. Like, when am I designing for myself versus my clients? And, sometimes you just need that like weekend of no work to just focus on something fictional or something just for yourself.
It keeps you sane, right, as well. I feel like your brain needs that almost almost like not no barriers, but just to be able to just have creative freedom and have fun with it. Otherwise, you become almost robotic if you're in that kind of, way of working continuously where you can't just have and almost forget why you got into our practice in the first place, because, we all love what we do. Which actually leads quite nicely into kind of how did you get into, doing what you're doing now? Did you study? Did you go to college? What did you do?
Yeah, so I'm actually still currently in college getting my degree in graphic design. I kind of got into design though early on in my life, like around maybe 10, 11, 12 years old. I didn't know it was design, but I had just started creating like these sort of fan edits for like my favorite TV shows and my favorite books and things like that. So I was learning, Photoshop and different apps on my phone and stuff like that. And then I think somewhere along the way, I realized like, oh, this is a thing. This is a real profession. Cool. I can actually kind of do something here. And so I just majored in graphic design to kind of, I don't know, get my feet wet and really like learn what this whole, practice was. And then from there, I just kind of like fell in love instantly with design. As soon as I learned the real definition and like what design actually is, I was like, okay, cool. Like I actually do want to do this. That's fantastic. And haven't looked back ever since.
I love that. It's like, I mean, those kind of stories are nice. It's always nice to kind of hear how people kind of got into our craft, right? Because it depends as well if if your family or your background is quite creative. I don't know about your background, but like from ours, for example, it's all very law orientated. There's no creatives whatsoever. So it's kind of like you kind of feel, where did you kind of get that creative juices from? But yeah, it kind of stems from different parts, whether it's friends or education. It sounds like you were kind of always maybe into that, but you just didn't know what the actual definition, like you said, definition was.
Yeah, exactly. I think like early high school, I'd started to kind of pick up on the fact that I was more kind of creative. I just didn't know, because all I knew at that time was like traditional art, the kind of fine arts background, and definitely I can't draw and I can't paint. So I knew it wasn't that, but I didn't know what it was. So I'm very happy to kind of have stumbled upon graphic design, but it found me.
I love that. It found me. You didn't find that. It was an organic relationship.
Yes.
I can see now what you're designing now. You've got quite a few like different typefaces. So like I'm quite curious, when you download fonts, do you kind of have to play around with them to sort of see how they look with color or shapes, or do you have like a process in how you do it? Or is it just like have a bit of fun and see which is
It
fine.
honestly is very much just have a bit of fun and see. Like I never really know when I'm downloading them, when I'm putting together different resources and stuff for a project. I'm always just sort of like throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it'll stick when it comes to
Just the
stuff
meatballs
for
stick on there.
myself. Yeah. So, I never really know until, because like that's the thing too. And in design, I feel like you can have a plan, but you never really know if it's going to work until you see what it looks like. So I just have to see what it looks like. And maybe I like it, maybe I don't.
I love that. And to be honest, that's all part of the process, right? I think a lot of people forget like the journey you take with a project. That can be probably more fun than the actual deliverable, because you're experimenting. You don't really know what's what at that early stage. So every idea is kind of up for grabs. So it's kind of that fun documenting stage, right? Which kind of gets lost sometimes in projects. But with Adobe Live, that's the beauty of like what we're doing now. It's that nice process of what we can see you working with.
I totally agree. I mean, something one of my professors told me actually that has stuck with me is that like as creatives, 99% of our lives is the process. We only have, a 5 minutes of that final result when you finish that project, when you send it to a client, and then you go right back into another project, So if we don't love the process, we're going to spend a long time doing things that we're miserable with. So very important to enjoy the process.
Very good point. And that's a nice time to mention again, if you're tuning in, hopefully you're enjoying, I'm sure you are, Shyne's process as well. And I can see the chat is quite active. Everyone's sort of sharing their experience about how they got into design, which is great. And I can see, so we got a comment here from Ferry. He said, my design lecturers in my university look very intimidating. It's crazy. Somehow pretty sure they give me a lot of challenge in design, but they look like a client who I like to complain and very mean to designers. Well, Ferry, hopefully they're not, perhaps they're testing you to sort of see your willpower. I feel like designers, you almost have to, it's that patience, isn't it? Like no one likes to hear, the design is not what they thought it would be when you're thinking, I've just spent so long making it and designing it, right? That's how you deal with feedback, which is, tricky one sometimes, right?
It is. It's so tricky. I mean, that's just the nature of the game, we just can't take it personal, but also super important to have clients that respect you and to try and work with people that, understand that you are like an expert at what you do and this is a craft, and people that just like really respect that. But, just try to stick it out. Just try to stick it out.
That's a good point, because like I almost feel as well, like the more experience obviously plays a role as well, especially if you're in freelancing, but the more that you get familiar with clients and how to deal with feedback, the more you feel comfortable to perhaps challenge as well, right? Because you mentioned we're the professionals, hopefully they trust in our process, but sometimes it takes time for people to have an understanding of what that is, because you don't want to, I always feel like it's brands, for example, whether it's I don't know, it's a personal project to them, a personal client, that, family business, for example, they're perhaps so close to heart that it could be very difficult to sway them if you want to do some design bits and bobs. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, that's the thing too, is I feel like most of the time with clients, it's never like a malicious intent. They don't really mean bad by it. It's just they're so close to the project and it's their baby and they have a very specific vision and they just want the best. So as long as you can help them realize that you want the best too and that you will give them the best, then I think we can find a happy middle ground.
No, hopefully, Ferry, that gives you some little gems there from Shyne in terms of how you can deal with your lecturers, and even if you go into into the world of clients as well and how to deal with that feedback. But I'm sure it's coming from a positive place. And we got a question here for you, saying, do you ever overthink your design? That's interesting.
Yes, I feel like I sway from the extremes of overthinking my designs or underthinking my designs, and I'm never just properly thinking about them. Yeah. I think design itself is kind of an overthinking profession. Like we have to think about the things that we create most of the time, because we're creating them for a brand or for a specific purpose or whatever. And so I wouldn't look at it as overthinking. I just think you're doing your due diligence. But if you feel that you're overthinking and you're just like spending too much time on it, at least for me, that's a lot of like the perfectionism piece. Typically, if I'm overthinking something, it's because I'm, I don't think that I'll be able to do it well enough, or, I don't know what I'm doing. So there's like perfectionism and imposter syndrome tied together. But at the end of the day, we're not surgeons, we're designers. Like it's not life or death. You just keep reworking it if it's not working, and whatever happens, just trust the process, Just
I love that. That's so
take a
true.
step
It's
back.
it's one of those ones where, you know, sometimes just taking a breather from the screen. I feel like, you know, taking a step away, getting some inspiration from somewhere else, perhaps just not online, that kind of feeds into having a clearer way of thinking. It'd be great to know your, you know, in the chat, Ferry, and it, you know, everyone else in the chat, you know, do you ever stumble across when you're working on something, do you think you over thought about it too much, or even under thinking about it too much, or what's your ways of kind of finding inspiration, as well as obviously hopefully watching Adobe Live, which is why you're here today. But Shyne, my dear, so obviously what we're working on now, I can see you've got a few different layers and obviously that background image behind as well.
Yep, I'm just, you know, I just want to get the important information on the page, so like date, location, things like that. But
Nice.
I'm just having fun with it. I think I'm just layering a bunch of different type, and I love to use type as decorative elements. Like I love to just, you know, distort it, add texture, add motion, make it really dynamic. I think that's like a really key tip for when you're creating things that are very type heavy and not maybe as visual, is just get decorative with the type, you know, and try to keep things like integrated together and not make it feel like you're just slapping type on top of a page. So that's what I'm trying to do.
So do you, I mean, in terms of the programs that you tend to, I know obviously, excuse me, today we're working on obviously Photoshop and Adobe Express. Do you find any other programs that you tend to, within your line of work, that you operate in, or those your kind of two main bread and butter, as it were?
Yeah, I'm definitely an illustrator a lot for my work, just because a lot of the time I am designing like logos and things like that. So just having obviously vector graphics is super important. I do love Photoshop though. Like Photoshop was my first love in terms of design tools, and it just has a special place in my heart. And I can also just have so much fun with all of these layering wild things that I'm doing. If you couldn't tell, I'm a maximalist. I'm not a minimalist. So
I love that. Less is more, but not in today's stream, guys. You're in a good place if you want to see some overlaps and some awesome work. That's interesting. Photoshop, I always love to kind of ask those questions, because I mean, obviously there's so many Adobe programs to work with and to operate in, depending on what you're working on, right? But it's always nice to kind of know from creators firsthand, like we all got a favorite, right? I think deep down we've got one that we're like, if we can bring it into this program to make it really work, it will definitely. Yeah, my soft spot is I love InDesign. That's kind of my.
Whoa.
Yeah.
What?
Is that weird? You looked at me like, oh, he's crazy. Is that?
I'm so surprised. I love InDesign, but I feel like it has such a steep learning curve sometimes. Like I feel like you're a true industry vet if you like InDesign.
Do you know what? You're saying nice things to me, Shyne, but do you know the funny thing is, it's where I used to work, in previous places, they were so on it with how the certain tools are and how things work in that program that you kind of just watch them over a period of time and you just pick up. Do you know what I mean? I'm a very slow learner, but you just within time, and yeah, for sure. InDesign is InDesign, Illustrator are my two babies, but yeah, for sure. But it's nice to sort of see the different programs. And again, in the chat, what is your vibe? Do you like, are you a Photoshop? Are you team Illustrator, team InDesign, team Photoshop? Or if you're just learning, if you're just starting out and this is like very much your first kind of Adobe Live or first, you know, tutorial into this space, let us know. We would love to kind of hear it. How did you get the, so that image, where was that image from? Is that a stock image, or I'm trying to make out what is that making coffee? I feel like it is.
There you go. It is coffee.
Yeah.
Yes.
Makes sense, right?
Because it's a coffee meetup, you know? So I just pulled a stock image and then I just turned it into the threshold. And then I just blended it into the background. So now it's a texture.
See, there's me thinking you're selling cupcakes for like an event. And maybe cupcakes will be there at a coffee meetup. I don't know. Is it strictly coffee, or is there any?
There will be baked goods. I think there will be some pastries, some maybe scones. I don't know. Do you like scones?
I love that. Was that like a British pundit? Like
it was a British reference.
That was a low shot, but I do love scones. It was with a side of jam. No. I mean, now that I know scones will be there, I'm booking my flight pretty much after this stream to.
Now you have to come. Yes.
Yes. I can see in the chat we've got everyone's kind of thrown in there what they like. You've got InDesign. You've got Steve, who's InDesign, Photoshop, and AI. Yes, my man. That's pretty much my bad boys too. And Ferry said AI, Illustrator, and Photoshop. So yeah.
That's me. Yes.
Everyone's got their vibes. And we've got a comment here from Sam who said, when I was freelancing, before I do, half up front and then half before I send out to final files helps avoid a lot of issues. That's a good point. Yes, because I guess there's always with freelancing, how do you, it depends on the client sometimes, right? In terms of, and that agreement that you set early on, because everyone has their own way of work. Do you have like a, almost like a briefing process, or how do you kind of deal with that client? Like when they approach you and they say, oh, Shyne, we've got a project. Do you have like a structure in place?
Yeah, I mean, typically I like to do, if it's like a bigger client, maybe like a bigger company or like a tech company or just a more established brand, typically I'll just do like 50-50. So like that commenter mentioned, just splitting it in half, once before we get started and then at the end with the final delivery. But for, smaller businesses or, things like that, I also do some sort of payment plans and things like that. So I'll just break it up in terms of project milestones. So, maybe nice. I know my process for designing a logo or designing a brand identity is usually pretty much the same. And so, at a certain milestone throughout the project, we'll do like a 25% installment or things like that. But I think a good tip is, breaking it up based on your process. And if you think, the logo is half of the work, then do 50% when the logo's done or things like that.
That's interesting. It's always nice to kind of hear firsthand from designers like their process, because I mean, with Adobe Live, we have such a range of people that review, whether it's students, grads, senior creators for years, or even just people who have no, connection with the industry, but just curious to know information. It's always nice to kind of hear, from an established freelancer yourself, how it is your process and how it works. Because that always seems to be one of the questions when I speak with students as well, with talks that, how do you deal with client feedback, or how do you have a structured process, and even pay and all these kind of elements, because we've all got a kind of way of working, right? And then do you ever find this as well? It's a case of knowing how much you can deliver in terms of your own ability, right? Because you don't want to I'll give you the world, and then it's just like, you're giving this tiny little, it's just knowing your capabilities.
100%. There has to be like a level of self-awareness, which is, I think that's why it's like super important to be in like design communities or like friends with people who can kind of relate or can kind of watch you and like see your progress too. Because I think sometimes it's really hard where, we're on these screens every day and things like that. Like we just kind of forget big picture of our skill set. So I think having somebody to like remind you of how far you've come and check in on you when you're progressing, and having a mentor, having like an accountability buddy is also super helpful in that way. Because, someone can like remind you of what you're capable of. I don't know.
I love that. No, so do you find like with you and your studio team, like, do you kind of bounce ideas of each other quite a lot and, share visuals? And I guess it's almost like not being afraid to be like, because I work with a creative partner as well. And we've gotten past that level now where she's very blunt, but I love that, because it's just like, I know what I get with her. Do you know what I mean? It's almost like if it's rubbish, I got to use a good clean word there. If it's rubbish, then you know what it is. But it's because obviously we want to get to the best deliverable possible. So you've broken that boundary of having to be too polite. Do you guys find like with your studio that you know the level now of you can just be honest and just discuss it if it's not working or if it is working?
I think so. I think one of my, I'm really, really close with one of my designers because we've just done so much work together, and it's just very much like we just kind of spam each other in our messages, and we're just like, hey, what do you think of this? I'm working on this. I don't know. I'm very stuck. And there's a lot of like transparency there, which is cool. And then my other designer, she's like, she's been doing this for maybe 7-8 years as well. So she definitely more experienced than me in terms of professional. So she's been through different agencies and things like that. So she can definitely tell me like it is, and she'll definitely, be very straightforward with me.
But you can almost appreciate just the honesty, right? Of just like, cool, you know what you get. And it almost goes back to that comment. I think Ferry in the chat mentioned about the lecturers. I don't know if you had it with uni, but you might have a few favorite lecturers, or the ones that are just really tough with it, almost like, like Snape from Harry Potter. I don't know why I use that pun, but you might get that sort of serious, but it's almost because they want you to do well, right? They want you to, they have their ways of encouraging. Perhaps it's not that conventional, but do you know what I mean? It's just different ways of how you go about it.
Yeah, I've experienced that too. I mean, I think it's just one of those things where you kind of just wish for the best, hope that they're looking out for your best interests, and that's why they're telling you these things. But our school, the school I go to, is very small, so we only have 3 different professors, and so I just work with them the entire time. So I mean, we know each other very well though, which is cool because they get to know your style so much, and then they're like very much like they feel like kind of one-on-one mentors because you just work with them for such a long time, which is fun.
Wicked. Nice. Yeah. So what's your vibe now? What you can, because I mean, my brain is like, there is a lot happening, but in a way that it's like, I guess for my brain was thinking about in terms of the audience as well, of who it is. And I feel like, I don't want to sound like a really old fuddy-duddy, but like, I feel like the styles of Gen Z is that you can work with a lot of things that clash, because that's what makes it more interesting, or more almost like more interactive with the way. Makes me sound really old now, but yeah, I don't know what you feel. If that's the case, that's the vibe you're kind of achieving.
I love that. No, I think so. I mean, there's definitely some creative chaos going on here. At this point, I'm just like fully experimenting, no thoughts, just vibes. Yeah. But I think, yeah, like you said, that's very much on par for the audience. You know, a lot of my community already knows I'm just, like I said, huge maximalist, just doing whatever. And I think that's a very Gen Z thing as well, like you mentioned, right? It just there's so much like breaking of the rules and lots going on and experimental aesthetics. And I think the more polished, the less attractive they think it is. You know, there has to be like that's sort of a gritty. It's kind of punk. We're kind of punk rock. We're in a postmodern era right now.
Do you know what? That's so interesting, because you imagine so many brands that they've been taught a certain way, or even like generational with designers, that you've been taught a certain way, right? Whether it's editorial or doing posters, fashion, that you kind of do it in a certain, whether it's grid-like, you know, very, very organized perhaps, but in a way where almost got to tear that up and actually rewrite the script of what you think it should be. And this is actually the most current way if you're trying to target that particular. That's interesting. Yeah, and I like that sort of style of just like having fun with it, having more fun with it. I appreciate it. And by the way, if I can mention this, because my sister, I had to Google like the Gen Z, the millennial, the term, because I forgot the ages, and my sister is in that category as well. So like I was trying to like suss out her, and yeah, her TikTok and all that stuff is pretty much what you're showing me now with the overlap. So yeah.
I love that. I love your sister's vibe already. We're all about it. We're all about it.
I'm loving your teacups as well. Where were these? Were these from like an Adobe stock, or where did you get your lovely teacups from? Yeah,
I pulled these from a stock photo as well, and then I just removed the background. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with these yet, but I kind of am liking the contrast that they're bringing, so we'll just play around with them.
Well, do you know what? On that, if anyone's got any comments about what you feel like Shyne could be doing, because we're seeing like, if you can imagine opening Shyne's brain and seeing this creative wiring going super fast. Right now, we're seeing this happen. So like definitely throwing what you think could happen. I feel like we could easily, you know, adapt it and change it in. Or even if you just change some of the lettering, or maybe the E turns into something, or the C turns into a cup handle. I don't know. I'm just throwing things totally out there. But any comments, you know, you would like to put in there, throw it in the chat, and I'm sure Shyne would love to hear it.
Yes, please give me all the inspo. What are you thinking? What are you reacting to right now?
Exactly. We've got a comment here from Max who said, so I definitely undervalued how great Behance is to collect your projects and have a go to portfolio network with peers on here. That's a very good point, actually. I mean, Behance, if you're viewing on Behance or YouTube, you know, we're reading the chat via the Behance, but there's a lot of benefits that you can have on Behance, right, in terms of your projects, and it feels like a community. I mean, that's probably what the vibe is, right? A community that you have creatives kind of doing their thing. You can show love to it. You can download mock-ups as well if people add that to their project. Are you quite active do you have a Behance profile, and are you quite active on it, or?
I do. I love going on Behance for, like you mentioned, the mock-ups. It's the mock-ups and the free fonts. People just give so much away for free on there, which is so awesome. Like there really is that community sense, like you mentioned, and it's just cool. I always get good inspo. I may or may not have taken a look last night to get some inspo before this. I don't know.
No judgment. Yeah, you're in a safe space. You're totally in you're in the safe space. The Adobe space is all good. And yeah, we do love a good mock-up at Adobe Live here. Like we are we're vulnerable to a good mock-up. And actually, I don't know if you do the same, but like I've got a whole on my hard drive, like a folder just of like emergency mock-ups. You never know where you're gonna need like a fire extinguisher mock-up. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying random things, but
Please.
You get some real, yeah.
I do have my mock-up folder. I don't have any, ambulances or fire hydrants or anything, but maybe I need to add to my collection.
I mean, that's not my thing, but I don't just go out my way looking for just handheld device. And the reason why I say fire, I mean, there is actually a method, because we had an Adobe Live last week with Alex Lazarus as well, who's an amazing, again, another Adobe Live host too. We did mock-ups, and we actually worked with a fire hydrant. So, and sort of, the fire hydrant basically. So that's what my brain was in that space of fire hydrants and the mock-ups that I have. Otherwise it's very random, just all the things you could have chose. You chose a fire hydrant to discuss a coffee meetup.
It did seem so random, but given that context, I think that totally makes sense.
Did I pull it back? I feel like I saved it there. I love that. You
definitely did. I was so confused, not gonna lie.
I mean, that's my brain every day. Super confused. We've got a comment here from Max, who's asked, so what inspired you to get into design? I think we might touch on it before, but perhaps if you missed the last part, did you get started with school for design, or discover it naturally to go into school with that in mind?
So really both, honestly. I had stumbled into design, I think, really like I'd mentioned earlier, just doing a lot of like fan edits, a lot of fun work. I didn't know it was design. I was just, kind of doing different like photoshopping and manipulations and color changing and digital illustrations and stuff. And I didn't know that it was actually, a profession or like a skill. I thought it was just a fun hobby. And then when it was time for me to really apply to university, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something that I was actually passionate about, not just something that would be successful per se. And so I started flipping through like all the, kind of academic program catalogs for different degrees. And I saw graphic design, and I was just immediately like, this is the only thing that sounds remotely close to what I'm interested in. So I'll see if it works. And then as soon as I got to my first design class, I knew it was it. I loved it. I loved everything about it from the very first moment. And so it was a little bit of both, like you mentioned, right? Like I kind of knew, but I also just went to school to see and find out. And now we're here.
I love that. And I guess it's like, do you have that moment where you learn a tool or software and it clicks with you? Because I remember back in the day when I was, going to uni and starting out, and you might take a while to kind of get your head around a certain technique or process, but when you get it and it clicks, it's an awesome feeling, right? Because you just feel like a sense of accomplishment. Yeah. I'm down for that.
I totally agree.
And hopefully, again, if you, I was going to mention anyone who's, if you've watched Adobe Lives before, that's pretty much the basis of what we do here, where you're watching, awesome creatives in the community working on, passion projects, client projects, doing different tools. But it gives you guys, hopefully the inspiration to kind of create your own designs and to kind of go out your way and to create, and obviously hopefully to share with us as well, because we love to sort of see what you lovely people are working on. And we've got a question from Crystal, which I think kind of goes back to our Gen Z vibe in terms of the style. But she mentioned working with script fonts can be difficult in typography. Definitely could use some breathing room. So again, you're in that mode, right? We're seeing your brain, right? Aren't we, Shyne, on the screen where it's all out?
Yes. No, that's such a good point. I think a cardinal rule of like using script fonts is don't use them for any actual information that needs to be legible. They're very much decorative, very much for display purposes. But I'm kind of breaking that rule. And the reason I'm breaking that rule, Crystal, good looking out. Thank you. The reason I'm breaking this rule is because this banner is going to live in my Discord server. And in Discord, these graphics are more so just sort of eye-catching banners than informational purposes. So I guess that's the thing too. If you're designing, always knowing the context, knowing what that experience is going to be like for the other person on the other side of the screen. But they're definitely going to see like an actual plain text, date, time, details, and things like that. So I'm just having a little bit of fun, here. Crystal, do you think I should change this time? Should I change this to a serif or sans serif font? Or should I change the free coffee for the first 20 people? Give me your thoughts, please.
Let us know, Crystal, and everyone in the chat, throw it in there. Throw your idea. No such thing as a bad idea at this early stage or in any stage of a project. maybe into the deliverable stage, but at this early stage, it's all good. So let us know. My brain kind of feels like, yeah, a nice, perhaps simpler font, just to kind of balance out what's happening in the middle. But like you said, right, it's more of at this stage, it's the decorative elements of it, and I guess a more simplified version that might accompany it, which is perhaps the more, what's I'm looking for, written at a much more like easier, cleaner version, and the top part of it is more like you said, the decorative, right? Almost like, for example, if you had like a Facebook post and you put it up, but underneath you have the bio, so you write obviously what exactly the information really is. Because if this was on a banner, my brain would be like, I definitely, one, I need a coffee, and two, I need to go wherever this meetup is, because and hopefully there'll be scones there, so that's why I'll be there.
Yes. That's very Gen Z attitude too, of, you know, whether you love it or you hate it, or it looks good or it looks bad, yeah, it's going to get your attention and it's going to get you talking and thinking. So mission accomplished.
Nice. Do you ever find, like, I guess, because, you know, perhaps during the period where, you know, we were at home a bit more during the lockdown phase, and you mentioned Gen Z it's more about kind of stepping away from the screen and just doing things, right? Just meeting up, just making it happen rather than the faff of talking. Do you feel like it's changed or accelerated even more so during that period where we were in lockdown and now we're free a bit, where you can meet up?
Ooh, I think so, because I think people are just now very much, like, honestly, kind of a little YOLO. I don't really know how else to describe it. I'm trying to think of like a proper way to say
That's
it.
So Gen Z, I love it.
It's just YOLO. Like, you know, we were kind of cooped up at home for 2 years. I mean, now we're just going to go out and see what happens and meet friends from around the world. I actually just went to New York, and I just met one of my internet friends who I had known kind of online for about a year. We worked together, and she and I hung out for the first time in real life. And, you know, probably prior to the pandemic, I would be super skeptical about like meeting up with somebody from the internet. What? But now it's just a thing now.
Only in the movies they do that. Yeah.
Right.
I love that.
Right.
I love that. And I'm actually, and you mentioned YOLO. For anyone who perhaps doesn't know that terminology, maybe I don't know. What is YOLO again? Just so
you only live once.
There we go. So you probably know that already, but if you didn't, there we go. I've answered the question for you, which is could be burning through your minds all day if you never knew what it was.
Yes.
It's looking good. It's looking good.
I think I'm gonna leave it at this. I think it's gonna get a little too much. I mean, it's already a lot. Like,
I was thinking, where would be space to put anything else? I mean, you know, when you've got like a crowded, it's but there's a lot happening, and it makes me want to have coffee. So, and a meetup. What more? Mission accomplished, right? I guess in the next part. Nice.
Yes.
Do you on the sort of design on the technical front? So, and it's funny because we always kind of mention it when we do, you know, these streams. You obviously got your layers on the right hand side. Do you have a system of how you? And again, absolute no judgment, I promise you, because some people are super over the top. You know, everyone's in different categories. But are you a color code? Do you name it? I'm not going to pull you out for it, promise.
There is zero system. I don't name anything. I don't color code it. No, it's just ellipse one, coffee.
It's just Gen Z. I love. There we go. It's because you already know, right? In your heart, you already know everything because you don't need to name it all, right?
Exactly. It's intuitive. It's part of me. So
you're using the force to get it. I love that.
Exactly. Do you name your layers?
I mean, now I feel like the most uncool. I do. I color code.
Do?
I color code as well, mainly because, but I think it's because my brain has to be I have to be very literal when I see things. Like it takes me a lot to digest things. So unless it's either color coded or by shape, I won't understand. So for me, like even when I do like files, I know if it's in green, it's because it's currently it's the job's out the door. But if it's in red, I'm currently I know you look at me like he's a weirdo, but it definitely works. And am I the only one that does color code? Please in the chat, let me know. Is anyone else?
Whoa.
Are you a color code person? I hope I'm not the only one in the world living in my color coded boat.
That's pretty amazing. I mean, I wish I could do that. I don't. Yeah. Wow.
But you use the force. You don't need to. I mean,
that's right.
I wish I had that gift.
You're right.
Like boom. So what are we? Like I see. Are you saving down in your like a little structure now and what you're doing?
Yeah, so
What's that?
now I'm gonna take this, and I think I just want to use this like typesetting here for the coffee meetup main text, and I'm just gonna take that into Adobe Express so that I can repurpose this into different social media graphics. Because like I said earlier, this banner is like the main, attention getter, gonna put it in my community, but I do want to promote the event in case anybody else wants to turn up. So I'm gonna post it on some socials, and yeah, I just kind of hid some of these layers here. Pretty much everything. Now I can breathe again. But I I hid all these layers.
I can see clearly now.
Yeah, the rain is gone.
No, but I mean, so it's quite cool. So going back to the concept of why you and the team, created this. What was have you done a few before in the past where you've done the coffee catch-up? Is this you mentioned the first one, or?
This is our first rodeo in this regard. So there's this sort of grassrootsy, independent, I don't know, like LA Tech Week thing happening in a couple weeks. And I just figured, why not host an independent meetup with that? If people are going to be in town or they're going to be in the area, it'd be cool to just connect with, a lot of our Discord friends in real life. And I mean, people are, like I said, people are YOLOing it out. People are just going to pop up and come meet these folks they've never met in real life before. I don't know who raised them, but they're doing it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's nice because it's that community vibe, isn't it? Where we might spend the best parts of a few going back during pandemic and whatnot, where you're at home and you're very much online, right, and using social media as like the main tool to communicate with other people. But now you can meet in person. But I mean, the beauty of even things like Adobe Live or events that you're doing is that you're able to reach out perhaps people are further away as well when it's on things online. I mean, when would we ever get a chance to speak from LA to to London? It's cool to do these kind of things.
It is. It's so fascinating.
It's very cool. So what are we working in now?
All right, now we're opening up Adobe Express. So we can just go to adobe.com/express. I think I'm going to start with an Instagram story. Yeah, nice. Let's go vertical. We're just going to fully switch from horizontal to vertical. This might be a little bit of a challenge, but it'll be fun.
I've seen your right, it's sounding weird. I've seen you on your Instagram, like you're very on it, and like it's so created so well in a way where do you find, I think I had this chat with Alex in our last stream for another Adobe Live, but it takes time, right, to have to create. Obviously you're doing your design, you're doing your coffee meetups, but taking a step back and doing social media content and promoting, how do you find that balance of having to stop for a minute and take time and to build your brand with the promotional? Like, how do you, I mean, is it more of a team collaborative effort, or is it just Shyne in the basement, just designing?
It's for the most part very much Shyne in the basement, head down for several hours. Cause I was really solo for the first like 1.5 years of my business and freelancing. And so a lot of it was just me experimenting. And I think really it was never a thing. And maybe this is just like, again, my sort of maximalist all over the place personality showing up. But for a long time, I didn't really even have like a set sort of like brand style per se. Like I didn't have a style guide. I didn't have like, I had the color, I had a color palette and I had some fonts, but it would always change. Like I was just always exploring with different fonts on my social media posts and things like that. And I think it was one of those things that like, it was kind of born out of me actually doing it. Like it just came from the action. So I just had to like start creating stuff to see what I wanted it to look like. And I didn't know until I did it, whether or not it would work. So yeah, I mean, I think I definitely don't approach my clients' projects that way. It's a lot more systematic and,
no judgment, I promise.
Polished, but it's my own thing. So I just got to have fun with it and go kind of be as chaotic as possible.
Do you find like, I'm quite interested, like in that idea, because it sounds like it's evolved, right? Over time it's evolved because you're kind of finding obviously there is no starting block. Well, there's a starting block, but there's no end block in that regards to how it should actually look because it's always changing. Do you find that changes when you have people interacting with certain things that you put out there to see if it's engaged well, or is that part of the process, or is it not so much?
I think it definitely is. I mean, I think I'm always just trying to, like I said, it's just seeing what sticks. And a lot of times, like, I just check in with like my community and stuff and my audience and ask them like honestly what they think and
Nice.
how things are feeling. So I'll ask like, hey, how does this make you feel? Or like, if you'd had to describe my brand in 3 words, like what would you say? And I use that a lot as inspo. So I kind of am like always measuring it, if you will. And so like, you know,
Nice.
if certain words like energized or exciting, like if those words keep coming up from different people, then I can kind of tell what I'm doing is working or it's not working or vice versa.
I love that. I love that. And I think, well, no, when I checked out your website, the one thing that really caught my attention was like the wording, like the content of how you, like the copywriting side of it as well. Cause that's the one thing, the design elements is important, but the brand strategy and the kind of words you use. And from right inside, I think it started off like you want to work with dope brands. And I think it's funny because it depends perhaps on different styles and generations and different, you know, ways of, you know, culturally how we operate in our world. But I think that's the beauty of it, when you feel confident and comfortable that you can kind of approach brands in a way where it doesn't diminish who you are as an individual, right? You're keeping true to yourself. And I love that. I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah, it definitely takes time. Like, of course, you know, when I first started out, I was kind of apprehensive about certain things and I didn't know how people would react. But then I kind of also realized, like, you know, if I'm trying to kind of build my own brand and really like make my own presence known, I guess, sort of in the space, you know, I really want to be myself, and the people that will resonate with that will feel more drawn to me and more connected to what I create, I guess, because of my authenticity or because I'm just keeping it real and, you know, speaking how I would speak in real life and stuff like that. And it's lent itself so far. I mean, I've gotten a lot of clients who are like my dream clients, people that I'd love to work with and that are very, you know, very cool and chill and relaxed and just kind of open to, again, sort of that like creative trusting process. And I think part of that just comes from me being willing to like, I don't know, break that barrier first.
Yeah, no, I love that. I feel like what you're saying as well, these are gems, right, for our audience. And I suppose, again, especially for those who perhaps are in that early stages of trying to build a brand and unsure about, you know, the wide world of how our industry works. It's a daunting experience, right? But when you're able to kind of share these experiences and I'm so captivated by the idea of just, you know, you're keeping it real, right? You're just keeping it real. You're who you are, and you kind of put it out there and see who kind of vibes with it. And if they don't vibe with it, then that's cool, right? You move on. So I'm definitely down for that. And we've got some lovely comments already, people who've been checking out your site as you've kind of been on the stream as well. And we've got a comment from Max who said, loving the simplicity of your site, and looks like, I love how the project icons and colors just jump out. So it is a fun site. So definitely check that out when you've after the stream, of course. But one thing I've noticed is like orange seems to be, is that your color? Is that your vibe? Because I see orange everywhere on social. And yeah.
Yes, it's my favorite color, first of all, which is why it's everywhere. But also it just totally fits my brand vibe, because not, you know, your favorite color isn't always the best brand color sometimes. But for me it is, because orange is just like my vibe. It just feels like my personality, my aura's that color. I'm just, you know, it's like, it's exciting, it's bold and vibrant, but it's not like red. It's not super duper intense.
Danger.
Yeah. So I feel like that's me. So that's why I use it.
It's funny because, like, without going way too deep, I know there's like a whole color theory behind the selection of color. I mean, we're gonna go. That's another Adobe Live segment in itself. But yeah, no, I get. And to be fair, when people see these colors, and I'd love to know in the chat, you know, what energy and vibe you guys get when you see Shyne's work and what she's creating. You know, that kind of energy, and bearing in mind the audience as well, the Gen Z. I mean, I'm definitely getting like energetic and just positive. There's nothing how can it be negative, right? The colors you've used, it's all positive, good vibes.
So it works.
Yeah, it does. It works for me easily. And it's also nice because the color is like, I always find when you work with font, whether it's black and white on a particular color, when you can use white font, I like using that more often. It's more legibility, right? Making sure that, but you use that color orange is so dark, it's enough that you get away with having white on top, and even the opacity lowered, you can still make out what that text is. So I'm down for that 100%.
Sweet. Thank you. There's a method to the madness.
Of course, there is totally everything around us. And actually, that's probably a nice time to mention, because it's crazy how quickly time has gone. We're nearly about an hour into our stream already. And I can see we've got some folks who've just already been popping in. I'm pretty sure I saw Anika pop in. So hello, my friends, if you've just joined us, if you're watching us on YouTube or Behance, a massive warm welcome. And today we have the lovely graphic designer, an Adobe ambassador, Express ambassador, Shyne Webster, and she's creating some social media assets using Photoshop, and now we're in Adobe Express to kind of build a brand. But in particular, we're doing a coffee meetup, which she'll be doing. So welcome, if you just joined us, and throw in some questions, some comments, even some emojis, and even in fact, I'm quite curious, and maybe we could do a poll in this, but do people like coffee? I mean, are there coffee lovers in this group? Because I feel like if you're a designer, you feel like maybe you have to be affiliated with coffee, because it's the whole, I'm a designer, I'm in a coffee shop, but not everyone drinks coffee. So are you into your coffee? Let us know in the chat. Or are you mixing up with a mint tea, which I do like now and again as well. So yeah.
A good tea.
Good tea. I mean, we're in England, right? I mean, come on.
We're gonna, that's right.
Tea and scones is what our good country is made of. So are you a coffee person at all? Are you 3 coffees a day? Are you quite disciplined with it? Okay,
I'm not like 3 coffees a day, thankfully, but I definitely am a big coffee person. I actually just started working with this oat milk company, and they're in a bunch of coffee shops around California, so that's super exciting.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
It's not Oatly, is it?
No.
That would be good. I was like, I do like my oat milk. I wonder if it's Oatly.
I do love oat milk, yes.
That's cool. I feel like we only started using that recently, maybe because we're just conscious of our diet, but it's almost like these things that just happen more often when, I mean, perhaps during the lockdown period, but you're more conscious of what you eat and what you put into your body. So yeah, oat milk just seems to be the thing now.
It really is. I mean, it doesn't, for my lactose intolerant folks out there, it really saves the stomach, and it's just great. Yes.
We're not singling you out, I promise you. There is a space for you. There is a space for you.
There is.
I love that. I can imagine anyone just joined in and like, why are they talking about oat milk? So like, I thought this was a design stream. I can see we just had Clady just join as well. So a massive welcome. Hello, Clady. And I think Oliver, if you just joined as well. Lovely to see you all. Let us know what you guys are vibing from the design. You can see where you're streaming from. Any lovely comments, let us know. And I can see our coffee comments it's gone down a treat, Shyne. We've got actually, I'm laughing because of one of the comments. So Reverb has said coffee first, then oxygen. And that's intense, but whatever floats your boat, man. I mean, oxygen's pretty important too, but coffee too. Yeah, it's all good. Uriah said, don't like coffee, never get the taste, but tea I'm down for. So there we go. We're open to that. Nothing wrong with tea. I've got a crazy collection of teas. Let us know what kind of tea you like. Yes, Oliver. I feel like Oliver could be English, actually. He's got, I love coffee, but teas and scones are clearly better. Oliver, are you from London? I'm getting that vibes, maybe, if you are.
Those are strong words, Oliver.
They are. So yeah, a massive welcome to you lovely people.
What's your favorite tea, Kieran?
Well, I mean, I'm looking down because I've got a collection right now and this is what we don't show you on Adobe Live, but we have a collection of tea. And I think we had this chat actually, didn't we, before we came live about
yes, we did.
The collection. So this is no lie at all. I've got mint tea, and I've got what's the yellow one? Brain's gone dead now. Ginger, that's it. Lemon and ginger. Yeah, I like lemon and ginger and mint tea. I've had to kind of weed myself off like 2-3 cups of coffee. That was in my Gen Z days, if it was back then. But yeah, 1 coffee a day is good with me. Keeps
the doctor away. Yes.
Does it? I was going to use that line, and I was like, it might be. It's like the opposite. That's the opposite of what we're going to try to do today. I love that. So yeah, I can see obviously. So we're taking elements now from what you showed us in a bit of Photoshop, and we're kind of working. This is a Insta story. Am I right in saying? Dimension?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Nice.
Yes, so this was just something I had exported as a PNG out of Photoshop, and I just hid all of the other layers. And then I brought the cups back too, because I'm really feeling the cups. I love the like clashing of the complementary colors of the teal and the orange. The color theory, bringing it back. So that's fun.
That.
Yeah, it's definitely It's a slightly different vibe than the original graphic, but I think in a fun way. And it like you can still feel the continuity, but it's just different.
I almost want to like do like if we is there a way we could do like a side by side of like I know, and perhaps maybe when you're finished this and we can get I think there was a comment, and apologies for who I forgot who it was in the chat, but they were mentioning about there was too much overlapping, so maybe this is a bit more breathable with the designs. It'd be great to know what people in the chat think about what they're vibing to, the one in Express or the one in Photoshop. But I'll let you obviously do a bit of tidying up obviously on your in your story, and then we can do maybe a nice little poll, see what you guys are thinking.
Ooh, that'll be very fun.
I could see this on a t-shirt, you know, like the orange and the I would wear that to like a barbecue, definitely.
That'd be so fun.
Yeah, I definitely would rock that. Would you guys rock this on a t-shirt? Could you see a t-shirt? I mean, this is not what we're working on today, t-shirts. It's the complete opposite. I don't want to throw you guys off piece, but just putting it out there. Would you like to rock this design on any clothing? I'd love to know. We would love to know.
You know, I think this would be a fun pair of like swim trunks, you know, with just the orange with the coffee. That's for my 3 coffee a day people. I mean, if you're that into it, I think you might as well just wear it.
Do you know what? My brain now, okay, without going to so that would work with swim trunks, but imagine there's like a dolphin, like going into the water, like the coffee, like some sort of water creature. So it just feels like there's a, do you know what I mean?
I've got you, Kieran, just for you.
Are you going to put in
Let's do it. Let's do it.
You did mention this was an out there stream. I love that. I said dolphin, and now you're using the dolphin in the coffee.
I mean, and honored. You know, it totally fits because it's in LA, which is near the beach, which is so perfect. There we go.
That's why I said it. I mean,
no, I could feel it through the force. That's what you were. That's what you were trying to convey, right?
You said that. And for anyone who's probably thinking they've used the word the force a lot, it's because when Shyne and I had our little catch up before we had our stream, we both realized we both like Star Wars. The force came up, but we'll touch on some stuff that you like, inspiration, and maybe Star Wars could be in there too. I don't know, but the force has been in there. The force is strong with you. I can see with the dolphin.
Yes.
I'm loving it.
And it's an Easter egg. It's an Easter egg. Now the people that will see it, you know, they're really honed in.
They'll get that. So is that quite I mean, my geography is terrible and I've never actually been to LA, but I guess you mentioned you're by the coast. So do you find like that is quite I won't say selling point is the word, but would people kind of get, perhaps it's like an LA pun? Would that be like an Easter egg, like maybe?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it's just, you know, if you know, you know, and I think it's also a little bit of a reach. It's a little bit of a stretch for me to make that claim and connection, but if it works, it works. So I think it's working for right now. I think, you know, people are, I'm just unhinged enough for people to accept it.
I love that. I feel like the English equivalent would be if it was a pigeon, right? If it was a pigeon, I mean, that's not nice, actually. A pigeon in a coffee. I don't even go down the connection. That completely puts people off now, I think, even more so. But that was my attempt of saying that what our equivalent of like a creature in some sort of design could be to kind of link it back to culturally back to London, which failed. So we can see. So what's the reverb saying? We've got reverb saying, now that we've had coffee, can we get reverbs all over this? So he said that now we've had coffee, can we get the bagels involved as well, pretty much. There we go. I think you're making people do the whole hungry 9 now. Yards.
I think so. I think we need to have just a brunch live stream.
A brunch stream. And again, I mean, there'll be obviously coffee at this place, but I feel like you're setting the tone, right? You're gonna have snacks, you're gonna have coffee, you're gonna have, and even better, good discussion, right? That's not the selling point, having pastries, but obviously it's part of the ambience, so it's all good.
It's the connection, it's the community vibes, but you know, food is always a great way to bond.
Exactly. And we've got people are loving your designs, Shyne. I can see you got Natalie said the design's looking great. So
thank you.
There we go.
This one's pretty fun. I think I actually like this even better. It's giving me kind of like retro American diner vibes.
Yeah. I actually without definitely going off piece now. I visited when I went to Tampa. I did visit like an old school kind of diner, and when you mentioned diner just there, I just thought again, you're talking to someone who's English, right? But from London, so it's like in my brain it's so iconic from like the movies, and then going to like an old school diner and seeing these kind of like Route 66 kind of vibes. I'm down for that. I'm
It's
very
just
much down for that.
this nostalgia, you know. It's attractive. It wraps you in. You can't do anything about it, even if you're British.
You sound like it's bad, but I love that. Even though
No,
you're, I'm
no,
just
but I
playing.
just, you know what I mean. Like
I know. Tomato, tomato. There we go. Potato, potato. It's funny. We've got a comment on here, and I don't know, Anthony. Perhaps you know me too well. He's got and we haven't mentioned anything about football or soccer. And Anthony, and you might not know this, Shyne, but I'm a massive Arsenal football fan, soccer. Without going way off piece, but he's just mentioned the Arsenal is coming out of you, which I'm not sure what that means, but thanks you for dragging that attention that I'm an Arsenal fan, Anthony. I get the vibe maybe you are or not. I don't know.
it felt a little derogatory to me.
Yeah, possibly. I'm getting those vibes.
Derogatory.
It's because we're amazing, Shyne. That's what it is. But anyway, that's a different. We had that topic when we had our last stream. We talked football, and it's very easy, slippery slope. But back into design. In terms of inspiration, where do you kind of go for your? I mean, when you're designing this and you had some vibes of how you might create this, are you a pen to paper kind of person? Are you drawing things first? Are you finding stuff online, Behance, Pinterest? What's the kind of go-to inspiration process?
I definitely find a lot of inspiration from just a lot of like sort of fashion and streetwear and skateboarding cultures. I think there's just a lot of like kind of grittiness and the rebellious spirit, which is very on brand for me. If you couldn't tell, of breaking the rules and kind of doing things your own way and being unconventional. I feel like that like energy is so at the core of all of those different like industries and cultures. And so I definitely am inspired by that a lot. I'm very much for anyone that's like a design nerd, I'm in a postmodern
that's
sort
everyone.
of like David, yeah, pretty much. So all of us, David Carson, like very postmodern type, like super rock broken things all over the place. Like I'm very into that. So like nice. Obey and like kind of 90s, 2000s brands, like that vibe, very much into that. But typically process wise, like yes, very much pen to paper or like Apple Pencil to iPad, but I didn't plan anything today. I just sort of went in with a blank slate, and that's where we're at.
So we feel more part of the process that way as well, like where you've brought us on this journey to kind of see, because I feel like when we do like a live as well, you can have already a design already made and you're kind of, working backwards from it to show us audience the process, or like what you're doing now, which is awesome, where you're kind of going in there with an idea, but it's not finalized yet. And we're all kind of chipping in and throwing our thoughts to create some awesome stuff. So we're down for that here. You're in a safe space to share ideas and bounce them off.
Yes, sure. Thank you. I feel like that's just so much fun. Like even with my kind of team and at school and stuff like that, we're always creating together and passing ideas back and forth and stuff. So it keeps it fun.
Yeah, it keeps you sane as well, right? Because it's just otherwise tunnel vision is just, we all get it as designers where you're just, even more if you're in freelancer when you're working from home, where it's almost like, you just see the four walls that you're cocooned in and you haven't really spoken to anyone. And I'm definitely sharing my own experience here, but you kind of need to have, connection with the outside world and people to share ideas and to discuss work and just bounce ideas as well. People have different perspectives on the work, so that will always help. And then there, and I can see you've got like kind of like a nice roundel. My eyes being rubber. Can you zoom in a little bit more so we can just get a real appreciation of?
Nope, that's real zoomed in now.
Nice. I love that texture on the teacup actually. The teal. Yeah,
it's super fun. I just used the posterize, tool in Photoshop, and then it created that fun textured thing going on. So
I love that you kept like the excess, which kind of like where it sits on, which is it works well for the shape of it as well. It does work quite nice. It's like I like it. You haven't done it like super clean and edge, but I feel like that's not the vibe we want. That's not where we're aiming for, right? So I'm down for that. I'm totally down for that.
Wait, did anyone say whether or not they'd wear this? They'd wear this pattern?
Oh, did people say that? Let us know. Did people say if you would wear this? Or even better, where do you think you would even see something like this on? If you went to the shops and you thought, that's a pattern, I want to get it on something, what would it be on? We said, we went from t-shirts to swimming trunks with the occasional dolphin as a nice little Easter egg, which I don't know about you guys, but I would totally rock. Let us know. It could even be a tea towel. Who knows? Just put in idea. It could be like a tea towel and like a barrister, maybe. I don't know, for coffee. I'm just throwing things out there.
I'm loving that.
Should we do like a nice comparison of like the Photoshop
Let's do
Because then we
it.
could do maybe like a little cheeky poll and nothing cheeky about it, but like do a little poll and then we can see what people are vibing. Sorry, English is right. Everything's cheeky at the beginning of the word.
All right, I'm down.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. If there's a way we can have it side by side, and then we can let you. There we go.
Can we do that? I mean,
yeah, that's perfect.
All right.
So, you lovely audience, if you're watching YouTube Hearts, let us know in the chat. What are you vibing for? Obviously, different formats, so different orientations, but content is pretty much the same. Left or right, there's different vibes in each one. But what are you aiming for? What are you seeing and thinking? Yeah, I would definitely visit this coffee meetup based on the design. Sam, if in chat, if you're able to do maybe a little poll for us, that'd be nice. Like a left or right could be one, or even just do portrait landscape. I don't know, whichever one's easier. And what I'll do is, Shyne, whilst our lovely folks are in the process, because it takes a little bit, it's all very like American Idol results time waiting for it. But whilst that's pending, I'll definitely be back and let you know.
Right.
But yeah, maybe perhaps we can work on another section.
Yes. Let's do it. Okay, we're going to switch gears a little bit now. I'm going to create an email version. I do have an email list. I don't check in with them nearly enough, but I'm going to for this. And I am just going to create sort of an email sort of header image to lock people in for this. So we're just promoting this event all over the place, but it's because we want a good turnout.
Nice.
Okay, so we're going to create something from scratch here. Ditch that Photoshop element.
See, also my brain's thinking. Oh, sorry, no, go for it.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, I think this is gonna come out looking totally different now because I'm starting from scratch again. So who knows?
I feel like it's funny because we've been connecting this for about an hour and a half, but I feel like I already know your energy and design style, which is just it's fun. There's more words to describe, but I feel like it's that element of you don't know what you're gonna get, but not in a that's worrying way, more in a we're being creative, we're finding experiences, we're interacting and engaging. So yeah, it's all good, I promise. I'm excited for it. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I feel like the one thing I could possibly definitely assume there will be is an orange of some sort, because I know you like orange, so it doesn't matter what design will look. I feel like there would be a sprinkle of orange on the design somewhere.
Very true. I think we're just gonna make it just a giant orange text in the middle, just for you.
Nice. I can see
like
we've got the got our folks. The votes are coming in. I'll keep you on ice still, Shyne, until we have a final vote count. But it's close. I'll keep you in suspense, but it is actually quite close. Did you have a favorite?
I'm nervous.
Do you have
yeah, I actually think I really like the Instagram story, the vertical.
Portrait.
Something about it. It's just speaking to me. It's speaking to me.
Nice. That may influence our voters now. Who knows?
Oh no.
It's all very political now, isn't it? So let's see how it goes. So actually, like I said, we're about well, definitely over an hour into it now. So if you have just joined us, or you've caught up a little the last parts of it, a massive hello, and welcome. And today we have graphic designer and Adobe Express ambassador Shyne Webster, and right now we are creating a brand based for a coffee meetup, which her and her studio are doing very soon in California. So a massive welcome. And any comments you guys might have, share it in the chat. We would love to hear it. Anything, and even if it's about the Shyne's design process, her background, what is Gen Z, what is YOLO, all these things you can throw it on there. I had to definitely do some research before to find out exactly what was the age, or just Gen Z and the different styles and trends. But let us know in the chat. It's always cool to hear. And actually, I was going to ask, what is your obviously you're designing now? I can see obviously on Express, but what's your kind of design setup? Are you a Mac? Are you a desktop? Are you an iPad? Are you all free? What's your vibe?
I'm very much a Mac gal. I'm just the whole Apple ecosystem for me. Yeah. I got my MacBook and my iPad. Those are my trusty steeds. And I love that I can use Illustrator on my iPad. So fun.
Yes.
So fun.
Yes. That's actually a cool time to actually mention, excuse me, that there's so many updates, right? With the Adobe, updates and things that are just a lot more easier and more intuitive with the device you have. keep up to date, because these things are just made to make your life a lot easier. And like Shyne said, there's stuff on the iPad, which you can do stuff on the go, which I don't know about you, but for me, it's just more fun, right? If you're on a train journey and you've got a long, I don't know, bus ride or whatever, you can just quickly jump on it and then continue when you're back home. So yeah, definitely get involved with that more, and even more so when we have the Adobe Max as well coming up very, very soon. So again, there's always going to be updates and things and little gems to stay tuned for when that lands as well. So definitely check that out on Adobe Max website, and of course, obviously Adobe Live, where we've got continuous updates and tutorials and things you guys can get involved with. So you're in the right place to be inspired. So welcome.
That was inspiring. I'm already inspired.
Nice. I love that. And let's have a look at this poll. What are the results? Because I feel like it must be close. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we are in a deadlock because it is literally 50-50. So if anyone has just joined, please break that deadlock and cast your vote in the link in the Behance chat, which Sam has kindly put in there, and let us know. And I mean, no pressure, but you potentially will be the person who has that. I mean, there's no prize that we give you, but it's more the prize of our love via the stream. There we go. That is perhaps a gift in itself. And I see croissants right now and pastries.
Yes. Yeah, y'all just really got me thinking about all the different breakfast foods. So I just had to do you a solid and include some of these.
Is there any English muffins in there? Is there going to be is not?
I will add one. I will. Yeah, no, that was my next search. How did you know? You guessed it.
I mean, the force, right? We've established that early on.
Right. That's absolutely it.
It was the force.
If you've got a favorite pastry, comment in the chat. Let me know what I should put in here, or breakfast baked good.
Do you know what's hilarious about this? I feel like, excuse me, if anyone's just joined and they're scrolling up the chat, they're seeing Oatly, they're seeing milk, they're seeing pastries. Like, have you guys talked about anything design related? I promise you have, and you've missed, and if you have just joined, you have missed a lot of design gems. But right now we are, like Shyne said, pastries. What is your favorite pastry? Let us know. We can maybe get some pastries on the edges of this lovely design. And you've got the scone there as well. Nice.
I've got you.
Got the scone.
All right.
I'm a sucker for like the I do love panna chocolates. I try not to have too many of those, but they are when it's like slightly warmed. Yeah, so I'll start drawing on the keyboard now. But there we go. The chat we've got macarons, of course. Ferry, you are all over this. So Ferry would like to see. I mean, I feel like it's going to be literally just so much food now on your. There's gonna be anything coffee related, but we've got Ferry said macarons, Reverby said waffles. Ooh. But what kind of waffles, Reverb? What are you having on it? Yeah, we need specifics. We need to. You can't just throw us in the darkness there and say waffles. We need to have a bit more. What is on your waffles?
Agreed.
Let us know, please. Nice collection of snack. So going back to another question I was gonna ask. So in terms of like clients as well, you mentioned that you have quite a lot of clients that you work with on a day-to-day basis alongside your community-based and sort of passion projects. Is there a dream client that you would like to work with, or one that maybe you're working with already but you maybe can't say too much, or is there a dream client that you think Shyne would be like, yes, these are the people I can see myself with?
That's such a good question. I mean, I think Nike, because like I mentioned, I love shoes. So I think Nike would be a great one. I think Apple, of course, which is actually funny. I have some like alumni from my school that are like design directors at Apple. So maybe it's not too much of a dream. Maybe it's not. Future.
It could be some in the chat. Who knows? I mean, you can shoot a shot, and if you're in the chat, shout out Shyne, and she's here. I mean, the work is her, the energy's there. Please collaborate with her and make it happen. And then we'll get you back on Adobe Live again, and we can see the rebirth of Shyne and in that space. It'd be awesome.
That would be legendary. That would be amazing.
I saw on LinkedIn a post about it was about Gen Z actually, about the like top 10 or top 5 companies to work for if you just graduated from uni or college or in that Gen Z. And Nike was in there. I think Google was in there, and you've got all these kind of brands who you assumed just the vibe would just be pleasant, right? Just with it, the current. I would love to work with. Do you know who I'd love to work with actually? Is Ben and Jerry's. That's so random.
Oh yes, that's so good.
I think because I had it last night, but I feel like they would be like, their branding is cool, right? And potentially anyone's in Ben and Jerry's. There we go. I'm shooting my shot now. But
yes.
Shout us out. But Nike would be cool. Who knows? We do like a fast forward like 2 years from now. You're at Nike. I'm at Ben and Jerry's, and then boom. We've made it. We've made it, and we're still doing Adobe Live, and we can still be sharing our experiences on it. That could be a world we would live in. I would love that. I'd love that.
Kieran, what flavor ice cream did you have?
Oh, we had it's funny. It's on that topic of like the sea creatures one. I'm not lying. I promise. Is fish food? Do you know fish food? Where it's like pH. Fish food.
Okay.
It's, obviously, like, I mean, what else would he be having? That's weird. It's got marshmallow, caramel, chocolate chunks. I mean, everything that is unhealthy. I'm not having it in one sitting, so don't judge me in the chat, please. I just had it as a treat, which I have every week. So yeah, that was pretty much my that was my weakness. That is what I had.
It's very solid.
It was. I mean, I don't think we can have an ice cream tub on the coffee meetup because that would just be unbecoming.
No. I break the rules, but I don't know if I can go that far. I don't know.
I mean, you want people to come there for the content, right? And for the inspiration to my stories, and you might have to do a thing where it's like pastries come maybe like 20 minutes into like they come out as like a conveyor belt. So then, otherwise you just hear loads of like yapping in the background of like the chomping of pastries.
Yeah.
It's lovely to sort of see the comments coming in now of I feel like this is a food chat now. We've changed it now. We've changed Adobe Live. We want to bring it back into design, but we can. The chat is just, we've got cherry pie, we've got mint chocolate ice cream. Oliver also loves fish food. I'm not alone. I love that. Reverb.
I haven't had it. I think I need to try it now.
It is good. It is a good one. But yeah. So what are we? So right now, obviously, we are still working on a few different format. Is this like a sort of Instagram? No, it's not an Instagram post. It's too long. Is this like a LinkedIn post or Facebook ad or?
It's gonna be Twitter. Twitter. Yes, I'm not as up on the Facebook game as I should be. LinkedIn, LinkedIn I love, but I don't know if this would be the proper target audience for that. Do
you know what is so interesting? You say, like, I've had this discussion with friends recently about this idea of, you've got all these different platforms and you utilize them for whatever, that you want to put out there, right? But I always put it down to, with LinkedIn, and you say Gen Z, I feel like there's a lot of content on there. It depends who you're following, right? First of all, because that page is created to what you want to see. So there's days of seeing really boring targeted ads for something that is literally not applicable to you whatsoever. Just unfollow and just follow things that are cool in people in the industry, or, brands that you admire who reflect what you're about. Follow them and then you'll be inspired by. But I feel like my LinkedIn homepage feels almost like an Instagram page now, where it's more visual. It's so visual content, and there's a lot of stuff happening. It's not like, I would say, the conventional Instagram. Well, what is conventional? But to me, it just seems more, it's fun. My LinkedIn, if I'm honest, it's more other things where it's a little bit more, maybe like Facebook is a little bit more different generation, right? Perhaps different market audience, and I don't know. I don't use Facebook much anymore, but yeah.
That's so valid. I mean, I think I need to follow some of the people that you're following on LinkedIn, because my LinkedIn has been a little dry lately. So I might need to
there we go.
Recurate my following.
I'll educate you on the millennial, what the millennials are up to, and you can educate us on what the Gen Z, what cross generations, and there we go. We can always learn from each other. I'm loving that font, by the way. What is that font?
It is called Recia Serif. I don't know. It's just so good. It's a good font, isn't it?
Even just the word coffee, like, it looks as though I could see a lot of brands working with that. If they were just use the word coffee like across it, it's nice. It's actually, and there's a reason why I say this now, because we had an Adobe Live a few weeks back with an amazing designer called Kevin, who worked on a coffee brand, and I feel like It could be not, it could be wrong, but it looks very similar to potentially the similar font because of the way the O is and the shape is like coffee bean. So
Yep.
that was if that was the same font, then boom, us designers are more in tune than I imagined. The force is strong even more than I thought in the Adobe
Wow.
Live Adobe Live space.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that just so I can find out. I'll keep you posted.
Yes, that
We're
was a
in
good.
sync.
That was good. And actually, that's a nice way to mention to anyone who's quite new to Adobe Live. Like, definitely watch. You know, these streams are here to inspire you. And to kind of give you guys a bit of an insight into other creatives. But more importantly, hopefully it gives you the tools to kind of use Adobe more and to kind of have fun and to work on projects that mean a lot to you. And again, even when we're not finish our stream, there's streams after this one, and there's also definitely worth saying is that there's obviously challenges as well that you can work on as well. There's a lot of creative challenges. We haven't got any this week, but further down the line we will. And that allows you to kind of work with almost like little small projects that you can kind of take on board, but it's like side by side, and you can kind of mirror it and design it whilst other people are doing it too. So it feels more community based. There's no pressure, and you learn as well. So what more would you want? So definitely check out some more Adobe Live streams because they are good, and we are not just saying it because hopefully this stream isn't a good example of how good it is. So there we go.
Here we go. Kieran, I have a question for you.
Hit me.
All right, let me know if this is like just so unrelated, but I think you mentioned earlier one of the boot camps.
I'm nervous now.
Yeah, no, it's relevant. It's not that unrelated.
Cool. It's all good. Go on.
Okay, I'm gonna keep you on your toes though. Have you gotten a chance to go on a stream with Andrew Hawkrattle?
Oh no, but I would love to. Do you know what? The amount of times I've introduced him whilst I've done my lives, but I haven't. No, but I've watched many of his streams. Yeah, but I haven't done like yeah.
Have you then?
Go on, hit us.
I've met him in real life several times.
In person?
Yes, because get this, he and I are he went to my university, so like we are in real life just linked. It's crazy small world.
I love that. You haven't just not in the metaverse, but actually tangible, like real. I love that. That is awesome. If in fact, I mean, it'll be a long shot, but if you're in the chat, send us an emoji to say hey. And for anyone who doesn't even know who Andrew Hawkrattle is, he's another, again, an amazing Adobe Live host and presenter and also designer as well. So definitely check out some of his streams. And he's doing a lot of the beginners boot camps as well this week. So definitely stay tuned. But that's an awesome little nugget of information there I didn't know that. There we go.
Yeah. The Adobe family,
It is strong. I feel like our community is just, bearing the fact that we're quite far apart, obviously, as well. But it's especially on social media, we're only a few friends away from knowing each other, like mutual friends, and we're all connected, right? Somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. So what can you talk us through what you're working on now and what we're seeing?
Yeah, I think a good selling point for people that's going to get people to this event is the fact that we're giving free coffee to the first 20 attendees. So now I'm really driving it in, really reinforcing it with this banner, really making sure it's going to be right present in the email, free coffee.
Nice. That could be dangerous, couldn't it? Potentially that's probably for most people who have self-control. Me on the other hand don't. So going to a place of free coffee, and is it free, like 1 cup per person? Is it more?
Yes, I'm gonna specify that now specifically because
for people like me who turn up with like their flask and saying, "But you said it was free coffee." Like it's almost like Homer Simpson going to like an all-you-can-eat buffet and just making everyone go bone dry. There we go.
Thanks for that. You never know. You never know. Got to be prepared.
But I like how you've got, like, with your visual kind of merging in from the left-hand side, you've got that clean space where the text can kind of sit in on the right. Yeah.
See, different vibe, but similar vibe. It's just, I knew it would wind up a little different. That's okay though.
What we'll do, it'd be cool, like, as well, after you've tied this one, that we'll have maybe all 4 as well. Is it 4 or 3 we've done so far? I'm trying to lose track. Have we done 3?
I think we're on 4 now.
4, that's what I thought. It'd be cool to sort of marvel at them all kind of as a whole. And then our lovely audience can see. And actually, did I check the poll, actually? We need to see who, because last time we checked, it was 50-50, and my heart will be broken if it's still 50-50. No, it's not. Good news. Okay, so what was your favorite, first of all?
Mine was the vertical, the Insta story.
Oh, I've built you up for hopefully not a nice ball. So our lovely audience, it was close though, only by a few votes. So landscape, the horizontal one seems to be the favorite. So
really? I'm a little surprised by that.
Yeah, surprised but not heartbroken, I hope.
No,
like,
not heartbroken. I love them both.
You're not gonna lose sleep. That makes me happy. You're not gonna... But you guys, I thought you liked my designs. I thought you liked my portrait. Oh. Yes, thank you, lovely people, for interacting and getting involved in that. Always great to know what you guys are vibing, what you're thinking. And of course, anything that you guys, any other thoughts or even thoughts on the fonts, the colors, the imagery that we've used, get that comments in the chat, and I'll share it directly with Shyne.
Oops.
Have you got any? I'm quite curious. So again, we touched on before, but we have obviously a range of individuals who obviously that will view the stream, whether it's students, grads, senior creatives. For anyone who maybe is just starting out their brand, have you got any sort of tips, advice, a few gems that you think, even going back, when you just starting out, what you would think you'd do differently, and that hopefully people can get, inspired from that?
That's such a good question. I think, let me think for a second. Let me think.
Digest it whilst you do it. Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
I want to give you the good tips. Let me chew on it for a second.
You chew on it. I even for myself, I mean, because I'm freelancing, and I think because am I right in saying you've been doing it for how many years? I don't want to get it wrong, actually.
2 to 3.
Okay. So we're nearly, I mean, you're more than me a bit. I'm about 1.5 years, nearly come up to 2 years.
Okay.
But I feel like, I mean, advice whilst you're kind of chewing on, because I want your gems to come out for our lovely audience. But whilst chewing on that, my advice potentially for you guys would be, I guess it's just like the more work you do and the more clients you have, the better you know yourself as well as an individual. Because I find like every project is different, and especially if you're just starting out as freelance, because it's very, say, different to working in a full-time employment or even when you're at uni. And I think you start to know more about yourself, and that could range from how quick you can work, how you digest feedback, all these different elements. And that's not even design related, that's just you as an individual and how you adapt. So I almost had to say, give yourself that time to nurture, to get better with things, because it will come. And I think when you're in that sweet spot where you can kind of challenge the client, but in a way that it's respectful, but in a way that they listen and they kind of take on board, and both parties are happy. I think that's the beauty of it, right? When you hit that sweet spot where both parties are equally happy with the deliverable, and you can challenge the client. So that's kind of my little advice tip. Has that given you a bit of inspiration maybe for your own tip? Have you got any tips for us, or are you still?
No, that's a good gem. I think, I think kind of going along those lines, like just being confident. I think being confident goes a long way, whether that's confident in, sharing your work online, or confident in selling yourself to a client, confident in going out for a job interview. Really, I think just confidence is a huge thing. And I mean, I think I'm kind of naturally confident in a way, but I also wish, like, when I had first started, I cared a little bit less about what are people going to think if I, post this on my Instagram story, or people are going to be, my fellow students, my classmates are going to be weirded out if I start posting all of my work and start marketing all of a sudden, or all these things, because, that's not normal. Like, we don't just post our work all the time, and we're not really building brands. Like, we're just building our portfolios and all these different thoughts. And I feel like just the little voices, like your inner critic, I think just being a lot more like just courageous and confident with that kind of stuff and putting yourself out there, it's just the sooner you can get comfortable with that, I think the better.
That's a really good point. I think social media, I mean, it's an awesome thing, and we all use it, right? And it's very easy to that imposter syndrome sometimes, right? And it happens. I almost feel like it happens to every single creative, where you potentially may not, but just in my opinion, I feel like most designers, it's healthy occasionally to maybe doubt yourself if you're unsure because you're not sure. I feel like the difference being, though, to when you're a grad, say to maybe a senior creative, is that perhaps seniors are more better at hiding it, maybe, or so, because we all have it, but potentially with that experience and a bit more you know, they can maybe articulate things a bit slightly differently, or, you know, confidence doesn't come to everyone. I mean, I've always thought, and I always want to battle that question when I give talks at, you know, unis and schools, and you got people saying they want to go freelance, but they're a bit shy, or they're unsure. And it's tricky, isn't it? Because when you're a freelancer, obviously you need the skill, but you need that people skills. And that's something that sometimes, you know, you can learn, obviously, right, design, and you can learn skills, but people skills, sometimes it depends on the person, right? But that shouldn't, hopefully, you know, put you off in terms of branching out and fulfilling your full potential, which we all want to see.
Yeah. I mean, I think you also have to just realize, this is at least something that people tell me, which has been helpful, is real imposters don't get imposter syndrome. So if you feel like you're kind of doubting yourself and stuff, that's probably a good sign, because you're probably actually fully capable. You're just, you know, like you said, a little shy. But if someone were really an imposter and not capable, they wouldn't even be thinking about that, because they'd just be doing it anyway.
Very true. I love that. And even like being nervous, right? I always think if you're nervous, it's because you want to do well, and that is the best. For me, that is good. Like, if you're not nervous, then, I mean, you're made out of Iron Man or Iron Woman. But I feel like being nervous is totally healthy, and it's totally natural as well. It's kind of how you channel it, right, and harvest it. But yeah, it's you lovely people in the audience. Hopefully that gives you guys some you know, some inspiration, some advice. Especially if you're just starting out as well. You know, it's always kind of cool to hear experiences and stories of, you know, if you're just starting out in our creative industry. I'm loving what you're doing right now with the coffee and that coffee stain on the edge. That is nice. It adds a bit more depth to I think this is my favorite one actually so far, you know, if I'm being really honest.
Really? You know, every time I think each one is just my favorite. I can't decide.
Where is the line, Shyne?
I know.
It's like, but I love it. It's cool. It's looking good.
Yeah, this one's got something fun going on. You know, I'm kind of liking like you mentioned, just that depth and playing with the layers. I'm trying to finagle a little like cutout here. So let's see.
Do you know what? I've always, I'm such a sucker for like when things slightly overlap. So what I mean is, like, if you've got your text and say you have a solid object like the plate, and but the coffee is, if that plate is just maybe slightly behind the type. So it just feels like there's more layers to the design. Yeah, it's funny because it's not like, it doesn't have to be very massive, but like really subtle, which adds that just a little bit of emphasis to it, which I like. I mean, I'm a sucker for those ones as well.
Me too. That's a great idea. I'm loving that. What do you think might be good?
What, in terms of how to progress the design, or
anything? If you have any thoughts.
Anything. Do you know what? My brain was thinking, where you've got the first 20 attendees, I guess how you read is kind of left to right. So my brain would think potentially if it aligns from the left going in, but then potentially. I mean, this is my InDesign now, being very granular, but like,
oh yeah,
the 20 attendees as well, like the 20 being on the second line, just because again you kind of hone in on little things like that, but each to their own.
That's a good one. That's how I know you are designing type a lot, because that's yep.
It's I'm just reading from my notes, Shyne. It's not even no, I'm kidding, it's my brain. When you see, it's funny because I feel like with us designers, when you go out someplace and let us know in the chat if you're similar, but if you go to restaurants or you go to the supermarket and see packaging, we can't not see design. Do you know what I mean? Like, your brain sees design before we maybe even see the product itself. And it's almost like for me, we're going to the supermarket, it's just, I'm almost like Googling at like the sweet section, not because I'm going to buy the sweets, but just because of the branding. Maybe I might buy the sweets, but more because of the branding and the types of styles. Yeah, I think it's cool. Do you know what I found out when I went to the US as well? Actually, there's so much advertisements and branding everywhere you go, which is overwhelming, but also quite cool to see the different styles and variants as well.
Wait, is that not super common for you in the UK?
No, it is. I think, do you know what? I'm basing it on when I went to Manhattan for the first time, for example. And I mean, the equivalent, I guess, is kind of like a Trafalgar Square, maybe London. But even so, I felt like a hamster in a it was like mazes you kind of get. It was an amazing experience for sure, but I think it was just seeing so many brands at the scales as well, whether it's on whether it's on the side of buildings or buses going by, or huge, buses with ads on it. Yeah, you're consumed, right, by so much material and advertisements. But I guess if you're from the space, from the area, you're just kind of used to it, right? It's just meh. It's yeah.
I mean, especially Manhattan is just that's pretty much sums up all of consumerism and brands and marketing in the United States. So that's a pretty high scale.
What's LA saying for like the brand, like in terms of adverts, and is it quite strong as well, or?
I mean, I think we just have a lot more like billboards, a lot more just because, there's so much like road, Route 66 and freeways and cruising up by the coast. There's just a lot of billboards. So I feel like that, like in the city traffic, billboards, ads, like that's a huge space. But I feel like we don't really have a ton of like screens or, like how Times Square just is like screens everywhere. It's, insane. I don't think it's that intense.
Okay. I'm imagining now, I can see your ad now on like Times Square as like a, can we almost expect your design, Shyne, on Times Square so that everyone can see? And then you're going to have more than a few 20 attendees, I think, attending for that first coffee if you...
I think things are going to get a little, I think they're going to get a little out of hand, but I'm here for it.
Exactly. But no, I'm liking the design. I feel like because my eyes a bit. Can you zoom in a little bit more on where it's got the hosted by? Is that the sunspot and the pineapple? That's a cool name.
Well, thanks. The Sunspot's my community's name, and then Pineapple is a collaborator that I'm hosting the event with. They're really cool, actually. It's funny that we were talking about LinkedIn, because they're like a LinkedIn specifically for Gen Z sort of thing is what they're building.
I may have to follow. I feel like with a name like that, Pineapple, even the Sunspot is, again, with the whole colors and what you're using in your energy, everything is all very like positive energy vibes, right? That's the direction. Yeah, you don't go to these places with like a sad face. I mean, and if you do, you end up coming out with the opposite, right? So
exactly.
I imagine that's the energy.
Kieran, I feel like you're doing all the marketing for me. That's my whole point. That's the whole point.
I mean, when you put nice design in front of me, when you put nice, and even more so, maybe because of the food that we saw as well. That my brain works when I see food. There we go. But it's been good to see, and I think even more so, like the designs that you showed us, each one, there is a collective like strand between all of them. Well, there we go. We see it now in its entirety, but each one kind of has like maybe a different element, whether it's slightly less assets on top, whether it's the white as well. What's your thoughts in terms of everything as like a collective?
I mean, I think it perfectly sums up how I operate and think in design, honestly, because I mean, there is consistency, right? Like you wouldn't look at any one of these and be like, oh, that's off brand, or oh, that doesn't fit per se. It ties in together and it's cohesive, but I like that each one can be a little bit different. And I think that's super fun. And that's, I guess, kind of how I approach brands in general, is like you have this core, style or identity, but you can always like kind of branch out a little and add things and reinterpret that in a different way. So, whether that's having rectangles for text here, or using text as like a blurry, decor element there, or playing with the depth here with a different cutout. Like, I think it's super fun, but it still all fits together. So there's some strategic element there.
There's a method to the madness, right?
Exactly.
I love it. And I feel like, I mean, we touched on this at the early part of the stream, but everything that you're doing and your website, your social media, is keeping true to who you are, right? It's I think we touched on your tone of voice on your website, that the way the copywriting elements of it as well. It is very much, I mean, you are Gen Z, you're targeting that, but also you're not talking another language that's not you, if that makes sense. Which I feel like that we could easily become that individual where because the mass is doing it, you just kind of go with the way the current is moving, but you've kind of set up who you are, what you're about. You're keeping true to your colors, your fonts, and your wording as well of how you talk about things. So yeah, I mean, I totally respect that. And I feel like a lot of everyone in the chat as well, the vibes and the energy I'm getting from the chat is that everyone's loving your energy and and your designs. And it's been so active on the food front. I mean, I don't think I've done a stream before we've spoken so much about about different foods, but hopefully that's kept you guys entertained as well. And I would say, I mean, Shyne, the time, I think I mentioned before, in the Adobe universe, things just go way quicker than it should do. But we've got about 10 minutes before maybe we do like a nice little recap, but also about how people can find about you on social media. Should we perhaps do like a 10 minutes of like maybe a little recap of what we've done from the start of the day to kind of now?
I think we should. I think let's just do it because my brain is pretty much feeling tapped out in terms of designs. Let's I
see the steam coming from your head. It's just like it's like it's cool. It's but no, it's been great to sort of see. But yeah, give us a nice little and then again, if it's not 10 minutes, we can definitely delve into a bit of your Instagram and your website. We didn't touch on that at the beginning, so our lovely folks can sort of reach out and know more about you. But yeah, a nice little recap, as you will.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, we started in Photoshop with this event banner, Discord, wherever it's going to live. For me, that's going to live in Discord with my community server, and just to promote and really just grab people's attention. I think, in the scroll and looking on your phone and all these constant notifications, it was super important for me to just have something that's just different and eye-catching. And I think this does a pretty good job. So, we used just all these different fonts here and just using the text as a decorative element, applying effects like blurring it, adding like grain and noise and texture and playing with the blend modes. We've got like 4 different blend modes going on here with these coffee cup cutouts. So thought that was fun too. Just keep it, dynamic and keep you on your toes. You never know what to expect. You think it's a coffee cup, and then you look at the other one and it looks totally different.
Bam, that's not a coffee. It is a coffee cup, but it's in a different perspective. And actually, weirdly enough, seeing it again, a refresh, I'd never noticed that, because that top one looks slightly more green, doesn't it? With the way the saturation is, which again, it's all the same image, but it's just the way you got that effect on top, which just has a bit of a different perspective on it all. That's cool.
Thank you. Noticing the details. See, they all add up. They all add up. We got this one. Yeah. And then we started and we brought it into Express, kind of pulling from that same textile. But then I got a little excited about the cups. So there's a lot here.
And the dolphin, don't forget the dolphin, right?
The dolphin, oh yeah. The dolphin, Kieran's suggestion of something about a dolphin hopping in or out of the cup. So we've got a little Easter egg for anyone that sees this, because it's the West Coast, the ocean, it all ties together, right?
See, I just said dolphin because I like, and then you made that strong connection of it's because of the location. So you had more of a more solid, strategic thinking of it. I just thought, because I like dolphins, I like turtles. I don't know, like, do you know what I mean? There we go.
I support it. I feel like you can make anything work as a designer as long as you can back up your design. So I'm on the spot, defending it for the client. That's why. Your style. Thanks. And then what else we got? Okay, we've got this one will make you hungry though. We've got like an email header graphic. It's a cutout. I can put it on social media as a sticker. If you want to like download it as a PNG, you can make it a sticker for your Instagram stories or whatever. Very versatile. But yeah, I think we really got hungry around this time in the studio. So I think everyone was just, what are we gonna eat? Yeah.
And even more so because there's a range of people who are tuning in from different parts of the world. So like I feel like for anyone, depending on which part of the world you are, it's either like early during the day for you, which is probably like maybe lunch, brunch time, I don't know. And then for us, it's very much dinner time in London. So everyone could be hungry at different points, but they stayed with us and even more importantly, they engaged and they threw in what their food was. So we did love to see that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everyone in this one.
There is. That was very much a collaborative effort. And out of all of them, sorry, how did I forget the last one? Please go for it.
I don't know. This one just came to me on the spot, really wanted to emphasize that free coffee, so you can throw this graphic anywhere as well, in an email and a text message. But favorite design highlight here is that this is not actually part of that, so we've got like popping out depth, fun things going on. All right.
The plot thickens when you just sort of move that coffee aside to realize that the stain was there all along. I love it. And actually, I think this is my favorite one actually out of all the designs. I kind of like even the way the wording, the free coffee sits. And even though there's the coffee above that overlaps slightly, there is a bit more of a breathing space in that section of design. So my brain kind of needs to, even though I love the overlapping and it does work, like my brain still likes that a little bit of that breathing part. But the balance is looking sharp, Shyne. Sharp Shyne. There we go. Alliteration.
Nice.
But Shyne, I would say, I mean, obviously we've seen the design, which has been amazing. Perhaps if we got a few minutes, maybe I want to say 8 minutes, 8.6 minutes. That's very particular. But perhaps we have a little bit of social media for our audience to know how they can reach out to you, and how can they, perhaps your website or whether your Instagram. Could you share some stuff so that our lovely audience could reach out and to know more about you?
Yes, happy to. Yes, I would love to connect with you if you were on the stream. So pretty much just Designed by Shyne on anything, on any social media platform. Come hang out with me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, same username across the board. And then my website is designedbyshyne.com. If you want to just check out a little bit about what I do, you want to, read some of that copy that Kieran mentioned with our, very unique brand voice. And just if you want to check out some of my work or anything like that, definitely, again, just Designed by Shyne anywhere. Shoot me a message on any platforms. You can binge my blog if you want. I have a couple design tips pieces in there. So
sell it, Shyne. I love that. Just let it. But it's awesome because I think we had I couldn't remember who it was actually, so I do apologize in the chat. But someone mentioned about the stickers or the kind of icons at the bottom, which it's those kind of things. I think it's quite fun, right? It just adds a little bit more of a playful.
So fun. And
they're interactive. I didn't even realize that actually. They actually move. I love that.
You see?
I love that. And your color palette. I mean, that is the orange and the yellow. Is that like is that who you are, right? The orange and yellow in terms of.
Yes, it's just so me.
Nice. If you was in color form, it would be literally those two colors that would make Shyne. I love that. Exactly. Step into your source. Again, even the term is just like. It's funny because I do wonder if you got those brands who are a bit old school. Can you imagine if they're like, but what is salt? I don't know if I want like ketchup or any HP. I don't know, like what is the vibe? But I'm down for that. I'm totally down for that. And any more in terms of like social media that we could, we've got about another 5 more minutes.
Want to take a dive on my Instagram profile? No, thank you. Alrighty. Okay. Lots of color. Lots of color.
Nice. And it's funny because actually the whole you obviously it's created so well, but you have there is a certain vibe, right? A certain palette that even though the orange is still there, you've got a nice kind of palette throughout.
It's just summer. It feels like summer, if it feels like it's summery and bright and warm, that's my goal.
Do you because I can see like you've got like a few quotes, right? Are those quotes that you kind of make yourself, or things that you found like you've been inspired by, or
it's all of the above? It's kind of just like my scrapbook made public. Anything that's inspiring me or that I think people would just benefit from, reminders and inspo and things like that, then I share it. So sometimes it is me, I can be a little inspirational when I need to be.
Love it. And do you know what keeps because I remember when I before coming on the live, obviously checked out your Instagram and website, and the thing I noticed the most on your Insta was just, how can I describe it? Like there's a lot happening, but in a way that it's just, each one is so fun to look at. And I think the one thing I noticed more was the fonts, because especially where you've got, is it the is that schedule? Because I almost think of like the old school like Cartoon Network kind of, which I love, by the way. So that kind of like so playful font. Again, these are fonts that you download and you find?
I'm just a big, yes, I love a good font. I love like fun, funky display fonts. So obviously here I just don't use normal fonts. Like everything is a display font all the time if you take a look. But yeah, I just love playing with all these different fonts. And that's the thing too, is like nobody's going to care if I don't use the same font in every single post. That it doesn't need to be that rigid. This is just, it's fun and it's expressive.
You can do it. Have you got like, I'm just curious because we've got a bit of time still, like maybe 4 minutes or so. Is there a post that you did that perhaps got a lot quite of engagement, or you thought, oh, okay, that was quite a nice, I feel like I'm making you go through all the archives now of your posts, but perhaps anything at the sort of top section, which, I mean, I keep looking at the ice cream one actually. I keep looking at that just because
I just love the way this one looks. It's just so fun. But
even the way the text kind of wraps around, again, how would you? Is this made on the Express as well, or how?
Actually.
Yeah.
Because this is all, this is just very like standard typesetting. So you can just go into Express and then type out your text, and then I just separated the chill into two different, sort of text boxes,
Nice.
And then if you were to just type out like this middle text here in the sunspot, and then you use the shape feature in Express, you can just create that outline in like 2 clicks, super easy, and it's fun.
It looks fun. Do you know what? I mentioned about the that overlap of slight text and imagery. My brain, when I saw that, I was like, the waffle. Can you imagine that the waffle slightly going over the D? So you still make out it's a D. Again, I think it's obvious I like so overlaps. Good. It's the little things. And in terms of like any other posts that you want to maybe share and promote, because again, got like a nice little 2 minutes or so.
Gosh, what's a good one? I don't know. I'm going down the archives for real. I'm gonna fall down the rabbit hole.
Because you do a lot of I've noticed you do and it's quite actually popular with like, I think those are very active on social, is what do you call them, like the kind of video not inspiration videos, but like, is it TikTok? I can't actually.
Oh yeah, like
I want to be really old school. Yeah, but like giving people like feedback of what they can do for their business, and I'm seeing that like on my feed loads. But I mean, do you tend to like have to follow for inspiration in terms of how you do your own, or you just like, it just comes like the force naturally to you and you're like, boom?
It's a little bit of both. I feel like it's mainly subconscious inspiration. So like, okay, this one was just like a very inspirational video about like, you know, people kind of battling like the algorithm and constantly having to create content and post and blah, blah, blah. And so like sometimes I'm inspired by like other people's formats and ideas, but I'm never actually like side by side, like, oh, I really love this video. Like I'm going to grab this and this and like recreate it. It's very subconscious. It marinates.
Yeah. I feel like that's with our line of work though. It's because I guess we consume so much. I don't know if you do it, but I'm a sucker for screenshots. Like I screenshot everything. So like if I'm online and I mean no one's that busy, but I feel like I'm always in a rush. But I just quickly screenshot, and then like my desktop, I have a clean desktop. People don't. No problem if you don't. But I have like a screenshot folder for the screenshots, because that's a thing, right? Desktop, like how you have your. Again, we don't have to like judge and like, are you a desktop? Do you folders? Are you again, you don't have to show us, but like, what's your?
It's a mix. I have like 3 folders and then like 2 straggling screenshots. It's fairly clean.
Nice. I feel like there's always like a lingering folder sometimes. It's just like, it doesn't get as much love as it needs, but it's still very much important. But Shyne, absolute pleasure. I mean, it's been awesome to sort of see that, you know, the design process and also to hear more about you as a designer, right? It's Adobe Live is not just about seeing the work, it's about knowing about the individual behind the work. And I can see on the chat, you know, the comments have been absolutely positive, all positive energy, with a sprinkle of loads of different foods options in there too. So perhaps the most tastiest Adobe Live I've done, but been a pleasure. But I'd just like to kind of end on that note by saying, you know, you can join the wonderful Andrew Horsradle, who we just mentioned, to learn basics about Adobe Photoshop, and here you can join him on how to use tools and techniques for ones that you should really know about and that will help you in your own practice. And then followed the bootcamp will be, you can join Clady from Print My Soul for another episode of How To. And here you can learn how to create the perfect Behance project to display your work in style. So Shyne, it's been my absolute pleasure to host you. You've been awesome. Hope you've enjoyed it.
It's so fun. It was so fun. Thanks so much.
Awesome. And of course, a massive thank you to everyone in the chat. Of course, without you guys, there is no chat, right? To Adobe Live team. And we will see you guys very, very soon. So whatever you do, remember, do it with a smile on your face. See you so soon. Bye.